Hey, everybody. My name is Julie Baumgardner, and I am the president and CEO of First Things First. And I am joined by my good friend today, Hal Runkel. Hal is a leadership coach. He's an author and speaker. We met, we were trying to figure out how long we've known each other, and it's a really long time.
But it hasn't felt that way.
I know, that's right. But we met talking about helping people to build strong marriages and families. And
Yeah.
you are the author of Scream Free Parenting,
Yep.
which is just one of the best books ever.
Thank
And
you.
and I asked Hal if he would be willing to have a conversation with me, because one thing that I know is we're not used to being cooped up for
No.
extended periods of time in small places.
Mm-mm.
And there's probably a lot of parents out there right now that are kind of pulling their hair out. Would you agree?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. To say the least.
So I
You
thought
know.
we'd have a conversation about that, because
Sure.
you have certainly been in some unique positions
Mm.
to speak into this, not just as a parent, but in
Yeah.
working with families.
Yeah. I was a therapist for a long time, a family therapist, and then I got to start doing coaching and got to work with the Army, and I have been all over the world working with Army families who deal with special circumstances that make it even more difficult than parenting already is. And here we are, the entire world in a special circumstance that makes
Mhm.
parenting even more difficult.
That's one way to put it, a
Yeah.
special circumstance.
Yes. Then none of us, of course, we've all been saying the word unprecedented probably more than we've ever said in our lives, but that is the best way to describe this. And
Uncharted waters for sure.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, and when I think about parenting, uh, I think one of the things that is probably scary for me is that you could be just the best parent,
yeah.
and this potentially could bring out the worst in you as an individual.
Easily. I
Yeah.
mean, you and I know that healthy relationships are a balance of separateness and togetherness.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what makes marriage work for sure, but it's what makes all relationships work. But now we are getting extreme separateness from everybody else and extreme togetherness with each other.
Yeah.
And that's the worst of both worlds.
Yeah.
And it's if it hasn't already, it's going to bring people to the brink.
Hmm.
I tell a story in the first chapter of my book when we did a 10th anniversary edition. I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go confess this story where scream-free parenting really came from. And it was a special circumstance. I was staying home with our daughter the first year because I was more flexible, and it was great, but she was a horribly colicky baby, the
Hmm.
worst the doctor had ever seen. And it was just every day, 3 to 4 hours, completely inconsolable. You had to bounce her or whatever. And I would challenge myself. I can outlast her, I can do this. But then one time for sure, I just lost it. And I went into her room and I basically dropped her into her crib. Now she landed on a pillow. She was fine. But then it got worse. Then I screamed at her through gritted teeth, shut the blank up. And then it got worse. I then noticed my hands kind of going in like this. And thankfully, I saw them, and I had the wherewithal to recognize them. And it was like, oh,
Yeah.
crap. And I just kept backing away. And I backed away. She's still crying, but she's a lot safer in there than she was with me. And so I went outside, and I just remember swearing to the heavens or to God or whomever, I don't know what I am going to do, but I'm never going to do that.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't know I was going to create a program. I wasn't even on the track to be a therapist at that point, but I didn't know I was going to create a program called Scream Free Parenting. But certainly it was born there because I was like, you know what? If I'm not going to hit or scream, what am I going to do?
Yeah, and
And
so many parents, I mean, that's the hard part, is
yeah,
the what do I do, because I've kind of tried everything and it's not
yeah,
working, and there's no real end in sight at this moment in time. Like,
nope,
we've been told that we're going to shelter in place, and so we're all here, and we know that it's not going to last forever, and we can tell ourselves that, but
yeah,
in the moment when they yell mom or dad one more time, or the baby
hmm,
won't quit crying, and you can't call on your support system, like, it's not like you can call in the troops and say,
yeah,
I need you to come over here right now and stay because I need a break.
yeah. No, especially not grandparents. because you're not going to expose them, right?
No, no.
Yeah.
So
It's
let's talk about, I mean, what can you do? What
well,
came
I
out of
think the
that moment
very
in time for you?
well, I think the very first thing is doing what we're doing right now. And let's admit, you and I are experts, and I've come close to abusing my kids.
Yeah,
And it's easy to go there.
it
And
is.
I'm the scream free guy, and I have screamed at my children, and I'm tempted to do so all the time. And so,
Mhm.
giving people permission to feel everything they're feeling,
Yeah.
that's the first step. Because if you don't give yourself permission to feel it, then you actually invite that feeling to actually take over the wheel.
Well, and stuffing it as though, gosh, if anybody finds this out, they're going to think I'm a horrible person, worst parent.
It's like every other parent is thinking the exact same thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know,
So,
it's like when we were teenagers and we were afraid everyone was watching us. Well, everyone was afraid that everybody was watching them. You know, we were all in the same boat, and we are
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And so first admitting it, and I've been trying to help my clients just do some basic things like identify feelings. Just as we're saying, because feelings can easily take over
Hmm.
and drive our behavior, and they usually do. So just a simple exercise of I feel blank, just a check-in. We always talk about meditation is good every day. I think of an emotions check-in is a smart thing to
It's
do.
a reading. Yeah.
Yeah. And so start with, do I feel good or bad? Right? If you can't identify, because a lot of people can't identify feelings. But here's one rule: is if you say more than one word, you have not said a feeling. You've said a thought. I feel like kicking my kid, into the middle of next week. No,
Yeah.
that's a thought.
Yeah.
What are you feeling? I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling maybe under
Exhaustion.
capable. But yes.
Yeah.
So but naming it, and this is one of my favorite AA sayings, is if you can name it, you can tame it.
Hmm.
So
So,
first thing, name the feeling. What
uh,
are you feeling?
yeah, name the feeling, and then,
And is it okay? And give yourself permission to feel it. Now, here's another piece that I say, though. So do not say, I am angry, because you are not the embodiment of angry. This is not your identity. Say, I feel angry.
yeah.
And that means, well, what else do I feel? I feel scared.
Mm.
Because usually we're feeling conflicted. And it's we've got to have a lot of conflicts going on. Like, you know what? It's great that we have this kind of together time, and I'm going to kill everyone in here, and we can have that same feeling at the exact same time.
Yeah. We were talking this morning that so many people, the whole feeling thing, it's confusing because people are like, oh, that's bad. I shouldn't feel that way.
Right.
And our conversation was feelings aren't good or bad. They just
Exactly.
are. And to name them is a really healthy exercise to kind of figure out, oh, yeah, that's exactly where I'm
Yep.
at this moment in time.
That's how I feel right now.
Yeah.
That does not mean that it's going to determine what I do next.
There you go.
What I do is my choice. What I feel is really outside of my decision.
Mm.
It's how well I'm able to identify it. So, yeah, giving yourself permission, it's okay to feel it. It's okay. When I had the incident with my daughter, which was 23 years ago now, I remember talking to my grandmother, and she was so helpful. She had 6 kids in a 1,200 square foot house with one bathroom. This way, and she
Hello.
said, she was like, Hal, if you don't feel like throwing your kid up against a wall, then you're not a parent, right? It's okay. So you gave him permission to feel that way. It's not permission to act that way.
Right.
It's permission to feel it,
Right.
and being able to say that to each other. If you're married, and your parenting partner is with you, being able to say that to each other, like,
Mhm.
I'm scared. I don't think I can do this.
Mhm.
I'm feeling scared.
Yeah.
And it's the other person, yeah, I feel scared too.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's another thing: is I just finished with a client, coaching client, on this very topic. Um, don't try and talk each other out of their feelings.
Oh boy, that's huge. That
You
is
know,
so important.
just let him have it. He was talking about, he's on the phone with his mom, and they just lost her husband, his father, like 6 months ago,
Mm.
and she's just worried she's going to die. She's worried that it's the word, everything's going to fall apart. Her grandkids are never going to see her. She's going to die alone, and all this. And he feels this pressure. No, mom, this, and and quoting her stats and stuff. And it's like, that's like trying to tell somebody at a funeral that they should cheer up.
Right.
Just acknowledge it. And sometimes it just say, yeah, I feel scared. I feel scared too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
I think even saying that, acknowledging that, I think not that you would say all of this in front of your children,
Right.
but some of these conversations I think are actually really helpful for your children,
Yep.
because what I see with younger people today is that they really struggle to be able to talk about, I feel
Yeah.
X. And
Yep.
so to maybe even have a family meeting and do that whole temperature reading that you were talking about
That'd
after
be great.
you've done the spouse temperature reading, to talk about, well, this is kind of the temperature in the house today. We all kind of feel a little tense, or we're all feeling
Yep.
exhausted, and like there's a 100-pound gorilla on our shoulders. And
Right.
let's talk about how we're going to walk through today and make sure that we don't take that out on the people that we love.
Yeah. And practice another AA practice, which I love, is no crosstalk. Meaning, if you're going to have a family meeting and you're going to go around and say, okay, well, so what's the dominant feeling you felt today? You can't say anything to it. You can't say, so when somebody confesses, I'm an alcoholic and I did this, no one can say, well, you need to do this. That's a huge breaking of the rules. So you don't talk into the feeling. You don't try and talk them out of the feeling. You just share it, because sharing it lessens its power.
Well, and it also is information for everybody else around you.
Yes.
You know, that I'm having a great day or I'm having a hard day, and that's helpful information for me to know how to communicate with you and how to engage you. Or as a
Yep.
parent, you might need some extra grace today, or you
Yep.
might need some extra attention from me. I think when I think about parents at this moment in time, I know a lot of parents who are, they are trying to work their typical
Mhm.
work schedule, which is very complicated trying to do that from home if you don't
Right.
normally do that.
Right.
And you're trying to help your children with school. And some of them are disappointed
Yeah.
today because they found out they're not going to go back to school, and they're not going to have
Nope.
celebrations that they thought that they were going to have.
Nope.
And so there's this kind of endless list of
Yeah.
things that are going on, that I think parents are thinking about a lot of things, but I also think children are thinking about other things that are impactful in their life,
Right.
feel just as important as the things that the parents are carrying.
Yeah. And I was so proud of one of my clients yesterday, because she was saying, my daughter, she's 12, she actually opened up and said, you know what, this thing really sucks, and I'm always encouraging, yes, if your daughter, a teenage boy or girl, complains, that's an opening. Don't, right, let that happen. Don't tell them, oh, you need to. And I was so proud of her. She just said, you know what, I'm feeling the exact same way. And that was it. She didn't follow it up with a lecture. She didn't follow it up with a lesson. She just said, yep, I'm feeling the exact same way. And then her daughter said, let's make a slushy. Okay,
And there you
beautiful. You know?
go.
So first of all, start with yourself. Identify what feelings you're having and do it occasionally throughout the day. I mean, this is the bedrock of emotional intelligence, but it's how we get maturity and how we recognize, because emotions are amazing servants, but they're terrible masters,
Oh boy,
right?
yes. Mhm.
So this is the way we gain mastery, is by just, first of all, naming and taming, and then build, resist the urge to be responsible for everyone else's feelings.
Oh gosh, yes, that's such an important point.
you know you're not. You can't change their feelings. If your kids are having a bad day, that's not a direct reflection on you. It's the fact that it's a bad day.
Yeah.
Just like if you're having a time where you really don't like your kids right now, guess what? That happens all the time. Doesn't mean you don't love them. Means you have a human relationship with another human being, and we disappoint each other all the time.
Yeah.
So you're not responsible for anybody else's feelings. All you are responsible to them. And I love your suggestion, is sharing some stuff that's going on with you. Let them see. Because I will tell you what, and it's paradoxical, and you know this. When a leader is open and vulnerable, and even confident while they're being open and vulnerable, like, you know what, I'm not exactly sure when this is going to happen, and that makes me nervous. I'm not exactly sure, what my job is going to look like, and it's a little scary. That actually invites people to trust you. It
Hmm.
doesn't feel like it should. It feels like, oh my gosh, I'm scaring them. But no, what scares them is when you pretend to know stuff you don't, when you are certain, when you have no certainty, and they can sense the discord between what you're saying and what you're emitting, right, in all of your tone and body language, and that's disconcerting.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that that's an important thing to acknowledge, that I don't have all the answers.
No.
I actually don't know when this is going to end.
Mm-mm.
I don't know how it's going to end.
Right.
I know that I'm going to show up and I'm going to do my best
Yes.
to parent you and take care of your needs
Mm-hmm.
as we walk through this one day at a time.
Yep. And I love that, because that's what so many business owners that I've gotten the chance to work with over the last few weeks, when they're firing people or cutting salaries, because one had to cut 1,400 salaries, or
Oh,
1,400 people, because it's a
oh,
restaurant business,
oh,
and just unbelievable. And it's the last thing you want to do is be certain about stuff you're not certain of. So, but I love what you did was perfect. So you're able to say, look, this is the bad news. Da da da. Get it out quick. That's another with kids. When there is bad news, don't dawdle, don't dance around. Just
totally read through that.
yes, they
They know
will.
something's up.
And bad news never gets better with age.
Right.
So
Oh, yeah.
just tell it quick. Then I love what you just did is perfect. So here's what I don't know. I don't know this, I don't know this, and I feel scared and anxious about that. What I do know is I wouldn't want to be going through this with anybody else in the world
Yeah.
than the people around this table.
Yeah.
That's what I do know. What I do know is we're all creative, and we're all going to find ways to make it through this. That's what I know. I don't know exactly know how we're going to, but I look forward to being surprised, because I do believe in us.
So I think that's significant right there,
Yeah.
because I think when people feel like they have something that they can do.
Yeah.
So we can talk about how we're all going to be responsible for hand washing.
Right.
We can talk about how we're going to take responsibility in our home to make sure that we're sanitizing the doorknobs, and
Yeah.
that somebody's taking responsibility for helping with that, that there's not one person that's solely responsible.
Yeah. That's good.
So
Yeah.
having some action items that we can all do, even the family meeting. I
Right.
think even being willing to come to the family meeting, be
Yep.
honest about your emotions, and communicative is healthy for the family unit, and I think helps parents as they're trying to navigate through this.
Yes. Agreed. And so with all of that, let's build on that with some very practical things that I'm hearing or is working with the families I'm in touch with. Is I love the idea of a good 15 minutes. And I got that from my friend David Blackwell, who did it with his boys growing up. And so we just did it. When there's cleaning that has to be done that nobody wants to do it, you set a time limit on it. And hey, it's
Oh,
time for a good 15 minutes. And
oh, so
that's
good.
all we're going to do. And whatever doesn't get done at the 15 minutes doesn't get done. But usually in that 15 minutes, you're all working together and you're motivated. You can even, we would do stuff like, and there's a cookie at the end of it if we, whatever. But it was all together, just
Little
like you said.
motivation.
Yeah. And we're all in this together because we have to. So we got to keep this house cleaner than we normally do.
Yeah,
So let's set a timer. Let's give 15 minutes.
love
And
that.
then yeah. And it's, you are doing something. This is helping us all stay healthy, and it's helping our neighbors stay healthy,
Hmm.
especially because we keep hearing stories about how we might be able to transmit it
Yeah,
further away than we were told,
right, yeah, right.
Um, Another thing, this is a practical thing, is I really think it's dangerous to try and make sure that you eat every meal together right now.
Oh goodness, yeah.
Yeah, don't put
I would
that
agree.
kind of pressure.
I think having a meal together could be
Yes,
great. Maybe it's breakfast, maybe it's dinner, or hey, in this day and time, it could be lunch. Choose one,
yes,
but
yes. At
don't get
most,
crazy, right?
yeah, I say at most one a day, where at most, and I wouldn't even say that, but let people also another thing is I'm hearing people say, "Man, my kids are asleep until right before they have to get on the computer, right? And they don't eat breakfast with us." And who cares? Let them do that. It gives you some time without them when you're awake and they're asleep, that you need that. So
I think one thing that I've thought a lot about is I think we're actually feeling how exhausted we
yeah,
just are.
yeah,
from going so fast all the time that it's kind of catching up with us, and we're
Right.
not running on adrenaline. There's no sporting events to go to, there's no commitments, and so we're kind of
Yep.
figuring out, gosh, I'm tired.
Yeah.
And I
I'm
also
tired.
think that tension and stress makes you feel,
Absolutely.
and
You're,
uh, and so it's kind of like there's this balance of, yes, you need sleep and you need exercise and you need separateness and togetherness.
yep. You need all of the above. So here's a rule. And this is a rule at any time, but I think it's really important now. Is great family teamwork is built playing one-on-one, each parent with each kid.
Yes.
And that those are great moments where it's not all the togetherness. It's just, okay, he and I are going to build this puzzle, or he and I are going to work in the yard, or she and I are going to watch this movie together, and this is our special thing.
Mhm.
And so, or if two siblings participate are participating in something, doesn't mean the third one has to.
Yeah.
Don't, this is not the time to try and correct all the things that you've thought were wrong about your family right now.
Right.
So relax, but also build those one-on-one relationships, not just all together.
Can we talk a second just about the whole bickering that's
Yeah.
probably happening? I have friends who have a whole house full of people because they've got kids who are at home, and they've got kids who've come home from college, and they are
Yeah.
100% not happy about being home. And then, I mean, you've got kids that just siblings that typically go at each other, and it's hard to separate that when you're
Yep.
on top of each other all the time. So talk
Yep.
about that for a minute.
I have always believed that we intervene way too quickly when siblings are arguing, way too quickly. Because you think about it, siblings are the longest possible relationship in life.
Yep.
And I think they're it's kind of designed as a laboratory for how to learn conflict resolution.
Oh yeah.
And when we parents intervene too quickly, we rob them of the chance to figure it out themselves. And so what I like is, if two are fighting, then you say, hey guys, you got 5 minutes to work it out. But he started, I don't care. Work it out, 5 minutes. Well, what happens after 5 minutes? After 5 minutes, you both get some sort of consequence, because I want both of you to feel the burden of working this stuff out, because this is how you do life. And I'm not going to figure it out for you, but I am going to hold the container for you. And so if it gets too loud, I will say, hey, that's a problem. Or if it gets too violent, I will say, but I'm going to let it go a little bit. But just say, hey, guys, go to the basement, figure it out. Because you're also conveying you, and I believe you can.
Right.
And what's great is, as you do this and get practiced in it, they'll be like policing themselves. Dude, cut it out. We're both going to get in trouble.
Yeah. That is so good. I think we miss this opportunity for our kids to actually learn everything you just talked about, and the
Yeah.
consequences of if we're not
Yep.
willing to figure it out. I mean, I love your statement that when we lose it as parents, it's like handing the emotional remote control over to the least mature people in the home. And
Yeah.
what I love about everything you just said
Mm,
is you were just so even keeled. There was
mm,
nothing in your voice that was raised. It was just like, hey, figure it out. You've got 5 minutes.
yeah.
Very unemotional, which I think is key to what
It's
you're
not,
talking about.
don't get mad. Just get matter of fact. Here's the deal. But I'll tell you a story. I mean, this can be tested. So, quick story. I think Hannah was in ninth grade and Brandon was in sixth. So, this is a long time ago. And she was not the most athletic. He was athletic at everything. And so he had already had lots of trophies. But she decided to play lacrosse. And she never played lacrosse, but she started playing. She was enjoying it. And then they had, in that practice, they had a contest, and she won the contest. And it was a 99-cent plastic water bottle that she won, but it was a trophy to her. So she brought it home. And so Jenny and I are outside on the porch enjoying, I think, a glass of wine, and it was a lovely evening about this time of year. And Hannah comes out and says, "Brandon took my water bottle." And so Jenny kind of got up, like she, going to go take care of this, right? And I was, hold on, hold on. I just looked at my daughter and said, "Go get it." She's like, "What? Really? Yeah, go get it." Because I just want to see what happens. And I don't want her to be afraid and always coming to us. So
Right.
she's like, okay. So 5 minutes go by and she comes out and her hair is a mess. Her clothes are all tousled and ruffled, right? But she's got that water bottle in her hand and she plants it on our table like a stake in the ground, like, yes. And so we're both like, yes, good. Well, then she goes back inside. Well, then Brandon comes out. His hair and clothes are all a mess. And he comes in and he takes the water bottle and runs back in. Now, this time I get up to go follow, and Jenny's the one to say, hold on, let's just wait. Let's see what happens. So we wait, and a little while, and so Hannah then comes out. Her hair is even worse, clothes even worse, and she's got blood pouring down her face from her nose.
Oh, oh,
Yes. So now we're both tempted, you know. But one of the things that we trained ourselves to do because we knew we had to was the worse it gets, the slower we have to get our heart rate. That's our job, is to be the slowest heart rate. So
yeah.
it escalated with blood. And then I found because we'd been working on this for so much, I come out and got calmer and said, hey, don't clean up your face. But it's bleeding. I know. She had a towel. Just keep it. Don't clean up your face. I want it to stay like that. And so then we walk upstairs and I'm consciously telling myself, walk slowly, breathe, walk slowly. So we go knock on the door. He doesn't answer. Like, it's locked. Dude, it's going to go a lot better for you if you unlock the door. And so he does, but he's looking down. I said, look up. He sees his sister bloody. He starts crying. And then I'm like, hey, are you guys going to use violence again? Nope. Dude, are you ever going to hit a woman in any circumstance ever again? Nope. All right. And so send him back to his room. You got no dinner tonight. We'll see you in the morning. And then the next day, I'm doing carpool and they're joking about it. She's like, you didn't hit me hard. It was just an elbow. But it was this sense that we weren't terrified
Yeah.
of them being them.
Mhm.
And I know parents are terrified in this circumstance that one more fight and I can't stand it. So
Yeah.
it's a perfect opportunity to, hey guys, take it outside. And you got 10 minutes. What? Really? Yeah. Take it outside. You can't be responsible for everything. That will drive you crazy. And the whole goal of parenting is to help our kids take more responsibility for themselves. And that's the thing to remember is it's not our job to manage our kids' behavior. It's our job to teach them to manage their own
Oh
behavior.
my gosh, could you just like say that one more time? Because
Yes.
that right there, if we miss that, we missed everything.
Yes. It is the one truth that transformed how I see leadership overall. It is not our job to manage our kids' behavior. It's our job to teach them to manage their own
Yes.
behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. So if we always intervene and fix it for them,
Yep.
they don't learn.
Nope, because when we take responsibility for them, we take responsibility from them.
Oh, yeah.
And then we complain that they're not responsible.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
this is about giving them chances to make decisions on their own, figure stuff out. Look, you know what? I've got a job, I've got to work, you've got class, figure it out.
Well, I think that that speaks to I believe in you.
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
confidence that you are smart enough to
Yep.
figure this out and that you can do it.
Yep.
So,
You can make your own lunch.
yeah.
I you can do this.
Yeah.
Right? You can do your own laundry. It's a perfect time to you can wake yourself up. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it feels like doing all of that for our kids is a disservice. Like we're actually not allowing them. This is what happens here in live interviews. I have the family cat who has just crawled up my leg. um,
I'm
uh,
sure that hasn't happened in any Zoom conversations anywhere in the world. You know?
oh gosh, but it does feel like a disservice
Yeah.
when we are actually taking away from our kids what they can do for themselves, and doing it for them, acting as though I need to do it because I know how to do it correctly, when
Yep.
actually this is, if there were any opportunity
Yeah.
to be gained out of this, it is a moment in time where we can let them figure out that physically and mentally, I cannot
I
do all.
can't do it. I can't do it. It's not my job to manage your class.
Yeah.
It's your job. And you think about it, yeah, it's a disservice. It's actually the opposite of parenting. Parenting is about launching our kids into self-sufficiency. That
Yeah.
is the entire point. is to launch them into adulthood. And it starts from the very beginning. Every bit of parenting is about detaching. Think about it, you cut the cord. Now, that doesn't mean you're not connected. You're deeply, deeply connected, but you're not attached.
Yeah.
Because if you are attached, then they never learn any sort of self-soothing, which is how they learn to sleep through the night. They never learn how to manage anything that's going on within them. But that's the whole point.
Okay, so let's land
Yeah.
on this. Let's just say that you are feeling like I'm up to my eyeballs
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
alligators, and I'm not quite sure how tomorrow's going to go
Yeah.
because today has not been good. What would you say to all of us about how do we back ourselves away from the ledge
Yeah.
and breathe and get ourselves together so that we can encounter tomorrow and engage people in a healthy way?
Well, one of the favorite principles that we have taught is put on your own oxygen mask first.
Hmm.
That if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. But when you're a parent, your instinct is to take care of everybody else except yourself.
Hmm.
Mothers, especially, have been sold this lie that everyone comes before you. And it is nonsensical and it's horribly damaging.
Yeah.
And so, in this time, and this, I was working with a mom yesterday who very successful professional, and she's got a job all the time. She hates being home but not being available.
Right.
She
You feel like you're torn. I
Yes.
mean, you really feel like, gosh, I'm not doing any of this well.
Yes. And she got an offer because her book club with her dear friends, where they were doing it online. They were going to do it on a Zoom thing. And she's like, you know what? I can't do it. And I'm like, one day a week. Well, it's one more hour. I'm not available to them. And they're going to be fine. Their dad is going to be with them. You need this.
Mm.
I have a Zoom. I started a thing with my college roommate guys every Sunday night at 9 o'clock. We all get on a Zoom call, and it is profane and immature and stupid and wonderful. And we're all, close to 50. It's great. And so finding a time ways to connect, and Zoom is a great way to connect to people that don't need you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
good.
that we all need to find something that feeds our soul
Yep,
in the midst of this.
absolutely. And so figuring out, and that means taking, I think, and it's hard, right? So many things are being taken away, but going outside for whatever way you can is magical, especially with the weather turning into
Yes,
springtime. Oh,
yes.
you,
I'm
you,
so
you,
thankful this is not January.
oh my gosh, that would be so much harder, right?
Yeah.
And so going outside, taking walks, exercise, all these things that we all know. But I want to encourage, don't try and get your kids up early. That
Mhm.
can be a wonderful time for you to be without your children.
Drinking coffee, being quiet.
Yeah, that like so the parents I was working with yesterday, I was like, hey, why don't you guys just stop making breakfast for everybody? Breakfast is just the time of you guys. Your kids are asleep. You guys just enjoy that because you do need connection time. I saw those jokes that came out that said, "Hey, December, there's going to be a lot of Corona babies," and then somebody wisely said, "Yeah, those are going to be firstborns."
Yeah.
'Cause
That's
you got kids all over you and you're together, it's not a lot of bumping and grinding going to go on at night. And it's because we're all so stuck, but you can find times to do stuff as a couple. You got to find times to do stuff with one kid. You got to find times to do stuff just for you.
Well, and I know you and I talked at one point about you may have done a lot of things up to this point, and you feel like it's not working,
Yeah.
and that's where you have to be creative and keep trying different things until you figure out what your groove is.
Yeah.
Because this we have all been kind of have we've had the rug ripped out from underneath us in so many ways that we are going to have to be patient in figuring out, well, what is our new
Right.
normal, so to speak.
And offer the grace to yourself first and then everyone that we should eliminate shoulds. You know, we should just eliminate shoulds because nobody in the human race has ever gone through this.
Right.
ever.
Ever.
So how do we have shoulds about this time?
Yeah.
And I'm glad that some people have decried it, but I'm glad schools are going to be relaxed. My son is in college and he doesn't want to be here, and we don't want him here, but he's here and he's taking classes on his own.
Tell me how you really feel about that, Hal.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But we have cool moments where we connect. He's a film major and he's like, hey, let's watch this thing together. Okay, cool. Right. But then he needs his time and we need time away from him.
Yeah.
But shoulds are so hard. And this is going to sound a little crude, but it's not. But my favorite line from Tony Robbins is, we
Oh,
should this and should this, and we end up shoulding all over ourselves. Right.
right.
And I love that line
Yeah.
because it helps us realize we are, this is not the time
Yeah.
to try to enforce things. You know, there is structure. Have it looser than you normally do. Have
Yeah.
structure, but so one meal at most a day, 5 meals together a week, but they don't have to be all the time. And just relax on things like that. This is not a time at all to be working on screen time management at all, because
It's just
it
walking out
might
the
be,
window for the most part. Yeah.
yeah, it may very well be that you can't go outside without a mask and you don't have a mask. So how are you going to go anywhere? You're going to go anywhere just go somewhere virtually.
Virtually. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for, I mean, a lot of really great, meaty, practical information in
Thanks.
a short amount of time. I thank you for that. I thank you for all the work that you're doing and for the friend that you've been to First Things First
Thanks.
over many years.
You're one of my favorite people, and I jumped at the chance as soon as you asked me. So I'd be happy to come on and get on a call again.
That sounds fantastic. You guys stay safe and we'll be in
You
touch.
too.